Today we're going to talk about the Manitowoc Flaker Nugget Ice Machine. Okay. One of the things that I found out whenever I was training down there, that they wanted some more training on commercial ice machines. I actually, the first 8 years of my career, that's what I did. Was I learned how to work on ice machines. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay. So let's talk about our flaker nugget machine. Okay. What am I? Where is the model of serial number? It's on two different places. Okay. There's a model and serial plate on the inside that sometimes you depending on if you've cleaned it a lot and everything else may fade off because it's not stamped. I'll spit it out. It's easier for me to say. It's not stamped. Okay, that's on the inside near the evaporator. Okay, the other one is on the back of the unit. Okay, if you go to the back, it's actually held on with two brads. So that gives you all of the information you need: the model number, the serial number, the voltage, how many ounces of Freon is in it, or if it's R600. There's no R600 right now for them, but everything is headed that way. So it'll tell you the charge that you need to put in it. There's a world of information right there. Okay. The one thing about this is you have got to have the model and serial number. Okay. If you're going to look for warranty information, you have got to have the model and serial number, or else you're not going to be able to do anything. The customer may tell you that it's under warranty, and if you don't have this information, there's no way you're ever going to get paid for it. Okay, so let's talk about how we read the model and serial number. Okay, so the first letter is the first letter in all of this alphanumeric character is going to be the series. Okay, the next letter is a Y in this one. So if I were to go down and look, Y is a half dice. Okay, in our use today, it should either be an F or an N. That would stand for F for flake, N for nugget. Okay, then that's the cube size. The next one down is the Freon. Okay, if it's an F, it's 404A. If it's a T, it's a 401. It's a 410A. If it's an E, excuse me. If it's an E, it's a 134A. Hopefully, you don't see any of those. If it's an E, this is an old unit, and it definitely ain't under warranty. If it's a P, it's a 290A. If it's a K, it's a R452A. Okay. The next set of numbers is the capacity. Okay. So this one basically has a capacity of 33 pounds. Okay. In your under the counter flaker machines, most of them run about 33 pounds. Is that all they'll produce is 33 pounds of ice in a day? No, that's all that the bin will hold. Okay. Most of these machines, I mean, we had machines that would produce 1,200 pounds of ice a day. Okay. But the bin, you had to have the right bin. If you have a bin that only holds 600 pounds a day, it'll shut off from the bin thermostat. Okay. So that tells me how many pounds of ice there is that this will hold. So if I were to keep this ice machine will produce 70 pounds a day. Okay. But you've got to keep it dumping it out. So that is the capacity, which is the numbers. The last one is the condenser type. Okay, this one is an A. That tells me that it's air cooled. If it was water W, it would be water cooled. If it's an N, it would be a remote air cooled. Okay, if it's an N and it's a remote air cooled, okay, that means that the compressor and the condenser are all located somewhere else. There's a line set that runs from that to that outside portion of it. Okay, if it's a C, it's a CVD air cooled. Okay, if I'm going to go for warranty information for this, okay, I'm going to have to go and visit www.manitowocice.com/service/warranty. Okay, what does this give me? Okay, it'll give me the warranty information. It will show me that the unit has been registered and it has warranty verification. Okay. The one thing you need to remember about an ice machine, okay, even though the serial number may tell you that it was produced a year and a half ago, it could be that it was not installed until a month ago. This warranty starts on the day that the unit was installed. So you need this information for your warranty coverage. Okay. So the model number, the manual covers the following: the Flaker Undercounter model. Okay. This was a 404A. Okay. There's a 290A. These are the two model numbers that it's covered. And here's the 290A. This is the two model numbers that the 290A covers. Okay. The Nugget machine. Okay. The 404A, that's the model number that you'll find. And the difference in those two is what? It's the size of the bin. Okay. The second one is the 290A, and those are the two model numbers that covers. Okay. So let's talk about what needs to happen to this machine every 6 months. Like clockwork, you have got to clean this machine every 6 months. Here's the part number for the cleaner, and then there are two parts for the sanitizer. Okay, there's a 16-ounce little bottle, and then there's the 1 gallon bottle. Those are both two important numbers that you're going to need. So you may want to take either a picture of this or whatever. And does Encompass carry this, both of these, the cleaner and the sanitizer? Yes, they do. So you can get those at Encompass. That's where we'd like for you to buy them. Please always use a Manitowoc cleaner that is metal safe. Okay, it's got to be metal safe. So let's talk about the location of the ice machine. Okay, one of the main important things about an ice machine is you got to meet all these criteria. Okay, the unit has to be at least not sitting next to a fryer, a grease trap, something that you're going to have a whole lot of particles that are be floating around in the air. Okay, you can't have airborne contaminants. One of the guys that we used to work whenever I worked for the ice machine company, they literally we had ice machines throughout the city of Atlanta. That one of the places that we had was a bakery, and they literally flour all kinds of things in the air. It would end up in the ice machine. We had to clean that one every 3 months, or else it would go off on the high side. Okay, so it's got to be free of airborne and other contaminants. Okay, so this equipment is intended for indoor use only. Do not install or operate this equipment in outdoor areas. Well, that's well said, but that's not what happens. A lot of the times you'll find them up under a shed, under a a breezeway, something like that. So that's where it needs to be, is indoor, but it's lot they've gotten better, but they still, you're going to find some that are still outdoors. Okay. One of the things that you need to know is the air temperature must be at least 50 degrees. Okay. It's not supposed to exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So 50 to 110. What happens if it gets below 50? A lot of the times it will actually trip. The bin thermostat will trip. And if it's below 50, it'll think that everything's full. The bin is full. So your bin thermostat will trip the machine and turn it off. So if it's below that, that's what happens whenever you get it. If it exceeds 110 degrees, if it's too far above 110, you get a problem with the unit cycling off, because it goes off on the high side. Okay. The water temperature needs to be 37 degrees, but it can exceed 90 degrees. That right there, what happens if it exceeds 90 degrees, it takes longer for it to freeze. If it's below 37, you may get a slushy mix in the trough that supplies the water. So just try to put it there, make it there. It's not always going to happen. Like I said, the company that I used to work for, we had machines that were actually outside in several of the hotels, the older hotels. And those machines were constantly, whenever it got cold, we were constantly getting calls. Okay. The location of the machine must meet the following. It must not be near a heat generating equipment or direct sunlight. So let's talk about heat generating equipment. What would that be? The exhaust for if let's say it's a hotel, the exhaust for where the laundry center is, and they have the heat, that would be a heat generating equipment. Could be a water heater. Okay, if it was inside, it could be a water heater. That you still get heat off the water heater. Okay. One of the things that you will find, and I actually had one that somebody had installed. We got there and the legs had gone through the floor because of the water. So it was a wooden floor, and it was basically, they had basically put slats down. So there was a 2-inch drop. So we had to remove everything, change it, and fix the flooring so that the ice machine could support the weight of the ice machine itself and the weight of the ice that's in the bin. Okay. The location must have enough clearance for water, drain, and electric connections in the rear of the machine. That's on every single Manitowoc ice machine. You've got to have that clearance so that you can get to your all of the water lines, the drain lines, all of that around it. You have got to make sure that you can get to those. Okay. Okay. The location must not obstruct airflow. One of the main problems that you will have is if somebody puts something around this ice machine to restrict the airflow. Could be something as simple as paper, like napkins. I've seen napkins that were shoved up into the gap because they thought it was a good place to store napkins. Could be trays where you had food. Could be anything, but you're restricting the flow of that ice machine. It has got to have airflow. If you can't get airflow, you will have nothing but problems. Okay, so Here are the clearance requirements, okay? For the undercounter unit, the top, the air cooled is 0 degrees for the very top, because a lot of these, they're pushed back behind in a bar, and it's right at the top, the 34 inches, and you don't have to have at the top, you don't have to have any clearance. Okay, on the sides, I've got to have at least 2 inches of clearance. Okay, if I've got the back, you've got to have at least 8 inches of clearance on the back. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, you have got to, if something happens and I don't have this clearance, I am going to have problems with this unit forever. You're never going, until you get those requirements, you will continually have problems. Okay. As far as water cooled, I have yet to see a water cooled unit as an under the counter. So that's just my personal. But if you did need the clearance for the water cooled, you got the same clearance for all of them. Okay. Whether it's air cooled or water cooled, you still have the same clearances. Okay. Installation requirements. Okay. The ice machine and bin, number one thing has got to be level. If it's not level, you're going to have several very bad issues. Okay. I have seen one that was so unlevel that it continually was calling for water, and it was actually running the ice, the water over the corner of the drain of the trough, and it literally was dripping down into the ice. This is a wet ice, so what it means is it's not like an ice maker that's in the refrigerator where it's a dry ice, not really dry ice, but it's not. That's why it sticks together. This is a wet ice, meaning that it's always melting. So you have got to have the ice machine being level and the bin being level, because this unit is constantly dripping water, whether it's the ice machine itself that it goes into the harvest cycle and it runs water out the drain. This ice machine produces this is about 80%. 80% of the minerals and other contaminants in get actually flushed out the drain every time, because the water runs over the plate. Once it runs over the plate, you flush all the old water out on every cycle. So that's one of the things that I like about one of those ice machines. That's why the ice is usually clear. If it's not clear, the reason is it's either waiting way too long for it to harvest. It can cause it to be unclear, but you want the ice to be clear. Okay, the bin has got to be level. I walked into one and they had it where it didn't meet the requirements for the bin drop. So whenever they installed it, it was backing back up into the bin. So it wasn't a good thing. So we had to cut it down and reinstall it. Okay. The ice machine must be vented. Okay. This machine has to have a vent in it. Okay. The bin drain termination must have an air gap. Okay. The unit must meet the local requirements, and a backflow preventer must be installed on the water line. Okay. Does everybody know what a backflow preventer is? Hey, plumber payday. No, thank you. And good morning to everybody else. I'm sorry, I was in the whole what you call it mode, so I could see everything. My glasses are about time to need a new set of glasses. Okay. So once you meet all the codes, the next thing you need to check is that the ice machine bin must be sanitized after you install it. If you get it and it's brand new, you've got to sanitize the bin after you install it. Why? Because you taking and your hands whenever you're installing the unit, your hands is going to have oil on them, and that can contaminate the ice. Okay. Local water conditions may require treatment of the water to inhibit scale formation, filter sediment, and remove chlorine odor and taste. So we always, the company that I worked for, we always put a water filter on the outside of the machine, and we changed it out every, depending on the location, either 6 months or a year. Okay. And it had to be where it was. Most of the time we installed one that you could see through, and you knew whenever the water was getting, the filter needed to be changed, because it would have a different, it wouldn't be clear. Okay. You could actually see some of the contaminants that was in that you were going through as it was flushing through the system. Okay. Routine adjustments and maintenance procedures outlined in the manual are not covered by warranty. Just so you know, okay, this is routine adjustments. So if I come out and I get there and the machine, the machine, the complaint on the machine was, oh, hey, I need you to, it's been a year, which happens all the time. It's been a year, I haven't cleaned my ice machine. Okay. Well, let me tell you, whenever you walk in, you're going to hear the worst grinding sound, because this auger motor is trying to push this nugget ice or flaker ice up through a channel that is partially restricted, and you literally will, the auger motor, you will actually destroy the auger motor itself and have to take it out and rebuild it, or you can have to take it out and replace it. So it is one thing that you have got to do is have every 6 months cleaning. If you're out there and you aren't the one that installed it, but they called you, you need to make sure that you tell them this thing has got to be clean. If you don't want to clean it, then I'll be more than happy to clean it, and I'll put you on a PMP system. Okay. What's a PMP? Preventative maintenance plan. Okay. We're going to have a class on PMPs here in about 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. Make sure that you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you make sure that the customer understands that they have to have that. Whenever we used to go out on ice machines that we did not own, we actually would make them sign the ticket telling them, hey, you have got to put a preventative maintenance plan in place, or we need to come out every 6 months, especially on a flaker or a nugget machine. Now, everybody knows what the nugget machine looks like, right? The ice that it produces. If you don't, every time you go to Sonic and you get ice from Sonic, that's a nugget machine. Sonic made the nugget machine famous, and then people decided they had to have a nugget machine. Okay. So this is an ice machine of heat rejection. Okay. So if you look, you have to find the model number on this, okay? And it tells you what the BTUs are. Now, why is this important? Okay. Ice machines, like other refrigerant equipment, reject heat through the condenser. This is helpful to know the amount of heat rejected by the ice machine when sizing the air conditioning equipment. So if I've set this in a closet, which you're going to find, I've got to have something helping to cool the ice machine down. Otherwise, it's gonna jump off on the high side. Okay. So water and drain requirements. You are going to find some of the weirdest things whenever it comes to ice machines. Okay. The first thing that it says, do not connect the ice machine to a hot water supply. Everybody thinks, oh, well, why in the world would it happens. Okay. You're going to find that somebody has either thought they had put it into the cold water supply as it came out of as it came down the pipe, or they didn't care. They didn't do a good job. And those people probably are the reason you got called. Okay. So we're going to make sure that we never have it to a hot water supply. Okay. Be sure all hot water restrictions installed for the other equipment are working. We're going to check the sink on the valve for the dishwasher and stuff. The dishwasher will be in a restaurant or in a hotel or in a school. You're gonna have sink faucets. So what you have to do is you have to turn the water on in the sink if it's water if the water is if you think that you've got the hot water that it's attached to the hot water line, you're going to have to run hot water into the sink, and then you can then check your water line to see if it's gotten warm. Okay. One of the other things that you've got to have is this water cannot exceed 80 psi. Okay. If it exceeds 80 psi, you have to go to the local distributor and get a valve so that you can dial the water the water pressure down. It's called the water pressure regulator. Okay. You can get it from any supply store. Well, not any. Most major plumbing places have it, and Compass has it. So just make sure that you do that if you got more than 80 psi. Okay. One of the other things, you got to have a water valve shutoff. Okay, and a union for both the Icemaker and the condensing water lines. If you have a water cooled unit, so you got to have a shutoff valve for both of those. Okay. So insulate the water inlets to prevent condensation, and the plumbing must conform to all local codes. Okay. The reason you insulate the water line is just like it says, because you are going to get condensation unless you're inevitably going to get condensation on it. Okay. Drain connections. Okay. Drain connections, you need to make sure this thing is the most important. Like I told you, we had one that we had the improper drop in a drain line. So we had to go back and rewire it or re-plumb it. Okay. The drain line must have 1.5 inches of drop per 5 feet of run. Okay. And it must not create traps. So what it's telling you is you can't run a PEX line. It needs to be a solid line for the floor drain. You need to have like PVC or CPVC. Okay. I would suggest PVC. That's what we always used. Okay. The floor drain must be large enough to accommodate drainage from all the drains. This is on every single Icemaker that you ever go and get a call on. Okay. So you're going to have to make sure that the drain trap is big enough so that whenever this machine goes into a harvest, it literally will not back up onto the floor. That's a bad thing. Then you will get a call if it's that, and then you have to show the customer that the problem is not the ice machine, it's the plumbing, and that he needs to have a plumber come out and fix the drain. Okay. You're going to run a separate bin and water cool condensing lines, insulate them to prevent condensation. Okay. Vent the ice machine drain into the atmosphere. The ice machine drain requires an 18-inch vent. Do not vent the condenser line on the water-cooled models. Okay. Drains must have a union or suitable means to allow to disconnect the ice machine when servicing the unit. So whenever you get into a under-the-counter ice machine, many of these are up under a bar or sitting on top of a bar. You got to be able to get to it, and you've got to be able to pull it out for you to do everything you need to do on this ice machine, which we are going to get into the cleaning aspects of the ice machine in a few more slides. Okay. So how much does this ice machine use in water? Okay. So potable water, you're going to get about the water per gallons, about 12 for the RFs. The RNs are 12. They're basically about 12 gallons per 100 pounds of ice. Okay. The condenser models, that's the ones that fluctuate. You notice how much higher they are. That's the reason that in the city of Atlanta, we never had condenser model units. Okay. So this is the picture of my ice machine the way that it should be. Okay. This is a 110 volt unit. So you notice it's plugged into a plug. Okay. Then it shows you the water shutoff valve. 99 times out of 100, you're never going to have a shutoff valve like that. You're usually going to have an inline valve for a 3/4 inch water line. Okay. I'm sorry, 3/8 inch water line, not 3/4. So that's most of the tubing that you're going to see. It requires a 3/8 inch water line going into the unit. So you're going to need that information. That it's 3/8. Remember that. That's the main thing about an ice machine. You got to have 3/8 inlet. Okay. Number one, you got to have an 18-inch vent tube. Okay. The vent tube is as you can see right here, the vent tube is tied into the drain tubing. Okay. If you use the one that is supplied with the machine, it comes with that vent tube. If you don't, you have to make your own vent tube. The company that I work for, we had to make our own. Okay. But it needs to be 18 inches high so that I get the proper drainage. Okay. So water supply and drain line connections. Potable water, minimum temperature, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Like I said, the water inlet, which is potable, at 32, it can never be at 32 degrees. It needs to be at 38. 32, water freezes. If it's in a liquid state, water freezes at 32 degrees. Okay. Water pressure cannot exceed 80 psi, but it has to be 20 psi. If you have somebody that has thought that they would put their machine on a reverse osmosis system, it will not work. There is not enough psi on the reverse osmosis system. Okay. The fitting and tubing size is 3/8. It's required to have 3/8. If you don't, then you're going to have problems. Okay. The potable water drain is 1/2. Okay. The condenser water drain 1/2 if you've got a water cooled unit. Okay. The bin drain for the bin itself is 3/4 of an inch. Okay. It's all, if you look at every single ice machine, and you have a fitting, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So the largest capacity that I can have is 1 inch, but the coming out of the machine, okay, I'm going to have a 3/4 inch connection. If I have a flaker or a nugget machine and it's mounted on an exterior bin, because some of the larger flaker nugget machines have a bin that it drops down into, that bin is going to have the 3/4 inch bin drain. Okay. The largest you can go is 1 inch, but I have to put a union on so that I can adapt it to a 1 inch drain. So it doesn't do me any good. You might as well just stay with a 3/4 inch drain. But remember, if I have a bin and it requires, it requires the standpipe, I still have to put that on. Okay. Okay. Ground fault reinterrupter circuit, a GFCI. They do not recommend a GFCI to be put on an ice machine. Okay. It's prone to a lot of intermittent problems. It's kind of like I had a restaurant that had they thought they would be great and put a GFCI on their microwave. We had nothing but problems out of that. Okay. The wire to the receptacle is dependent on the location, the materials, the length of the run. So it needs a qualified electrician needs to have that done for you. So whenever you plug it in, you're basically plug and go. Okay. All electrical work, including wiring, routing, grounding, all have to conform to the local codes. Okay. Depending on where you're at, those can definitely change. Okay. I know that the codes for Ohio are much different than the codes for Georgia. Same as many of the things for California. We have different codes. Okay. So we're going to have the electrician run everything to the machine. Then at the end, I'm going to check all the ground screws in the control box and verify they are tight before starting the ice machine. Okay. You have to, one of the things that you really need to check, okay, is the right polarity. I can't tell you the number of times that I went out on something and the polarity was wrong. So if I'm on a 110 machine, I have it pretty easy. I just take my 110 polarity plug, stick it in, look for the right lights to come on. If it doesn't, I have to tell them that they're going to have to get the electrician back out and take care of it. Okay. So we're going to check all of that. So this right here, I used to have this taped, okay, to my little ticket box that I had, okay. One of the guys at the school last weekend had one of the same ticket boxes that I had, and I was like, this is a great place for you to put this checklist. Okay. I used it, and I had a magic marker that I could actually check off things, and then I could go and use a cloth and some 409 and wipe it off. Okay. So, and this is just a checklist. Whenever I walk in, I want to check and make sure that the ice machine is level. All right. We're going to check that the ice machine and the adapter secured to the dispenser. Make sure that all the connections are good. Okay. I'm going to have all the electrical and water connections. Were they made and are they leaking? Okay. Has the supply voltage been tested and checked against the rating on the nameplate? So I need to actually check to make sure that there's not a plus or minus 10% drop. Okay. So is the proper clearance around the ice machine for air circulation? Okay. Is the ice machine grounded and polarity correct? Has the ice machine been installed with an ambient temperatures where they will remain in a range of 50 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit? Is the ice machine installed where the incoming water temperature is within the range of 37 degrees to 90 degrees Fahrenheit? Okay. And truthfully, if your water temperature gets above 90 degrees, I know that in the state of Florida that happens. Many of the times in the state of Florida, it's so hot that whenever I turn on the the cold water, it feels like it's hot water. So just make sure that it's within that range and do whenever you can. Is there a separate drain line for the water cooled condenser? Like I said, I have never the 7 years that I did it, I never ran into a water cooled condenser. You may, and if you do, you need to know that it's separate lines. So I had this checklist. I would check it. I would if I would have been running the call, I would check that if it was separate. If it's not, you need to get whoever the owner is and get them to get that fixed, or you can fix it for them and charge them for it. It's not covered by warranty. Okay, is there a separate drain for the dispenser? This is some of the times whenever the dispenser is sitting up on a countertop, you're going to have a little plastic line that comes off for the drain. Okay, just make sure it's put in and that it's zip tied, not tight, but zip tied so that it doesn't get popped out. If you're moving the machine out, you may have to move the zip tie, take the zip cut tie off, and just replace it. Okay, or the next guy that pulls it out may not put it back in the right spot, and lo and behold, you get a mess on the floor. And then you have to come back out, and we all know that you don't make any money if I have to run the call again, especially if I can't charge the customer. Okay. Is the ice making water turned on? Okay. So the supply line, has it been turned on? You'd be surprised how many times you go out there and somebody has turned the water off for some odd reason, for who knows, and you get out there and turn the water on and it starts to work and it works fine. That's not something that you can under warranty. That's not something that you can bill Manitowoc for, or any other manufacturer for that matter. Okay, so it has got to be, that would be a customer that you had to had to charge. And I don't know, but in 1978, that charge for a commercial ice machine was $112. That was my trip charge and everything for just a 15-minute job. Okay. Are all electrical leads free from contact with the refrigeration lines and moving equipment? Okay. So you just want to make sure that all the leads are they're not in danger of either being somebody sitting had the machine on top of it and run through rub through the line, and you're just trying to keep everybody safe. Okay. Has the owner operator been instructed regarding maintenance and the use of the Manitowoc ice machine cleaner and sanitizer? We, at the company that I worked for, we did all the maintenance. Everybody was on a preventative maintenance program whenever we installed it. The ones that didn't, we always had problems with because it never got done. So I used to make the customer sign that we installed it. We told him the information about the Manitowoc ice machine cleaner and the sanitizer, what he needed to do, and if not, he needed to call us every 6 months, because this is not covered under warranty. So if he if he refuses and you have that ticket, you can show them, you can show him a copy and say, sir, I'm sorry, but you signed the ticket. You have got to pay. So, has the owner operator completed the warranty registration card? I'm going to tell you, if it was me, I always took that card and I wrote down on the card all the information. I took that one with me. If I was installing it as a brand new install, I took that information with me and made sure that it got to Manitowoc, because a lot of times Manitowoc has no information for this customer. So I'm sure that it made it to Manitowoc. Okay. On today's, you can actually go into the Manitowoc website and you can put all the information in. Okay. Has the ice machine and bin been sanitized? Number one, got to be sanitized after you get done with the installation. Okay. Is the rocker switch set to on? That means, have I turned the ice machine on and it started producing? I never left the machine that I didn't verify that it dropped at least dropped ice. Once that ice started coming out, or if I'm in a cube machine and that first drop, I'm good to go. I know that it's been done. Okay. One thing for a quiet cube model, okay, is the line set rise and drop within the guidelines. Okay. We already talked about the guidelines. Okay. Are the suction and liquid line shutoff valves open? You have to make sure that those are open whenever you turn that machine on. Is the line set routed properly? Okay. Are both refrigerant lines and condenser remote condensing lines so that they do not lay in water and are properly insulated? Whenever you get this line set, they always come with the lines already have been insulated. Okay. Does the condenser fan motor operate properly after startup? Okay. We're going to talk about the condenser fan motor whenever we get down into some of the checks, because the condenser fan motor does not come on immediately as soon as you turn the fan on. As soon as you start the machine. Okay. Have the refrigeration fittings and joints been leak checked? So if you're installing a refrigerant line, you have to make sure that those are checked for leaks. Okay. Has the condensing unit been installed to prevent any roofing damage? There's nothing worse than going up on a machine that somebody did improperly, that they put it on the roof and they didn't put the proper tabs down so that it didn't cause roof damage. Okay. If you have it, and you didn't install it, you need to let the customer know. Always write it on your ticket. Okay. Had the refrigerant lines been insulated and secured properly to prevent vibration? You will have the refrigerant lines actually making noise, and that's why you have to have the proper. It has to be secured and proper and prevented vibration. Okay. Has the UCUF, the RCUF, remote condensing unit been located where the ambient temperature will remain at the range of minus 20 degrees to 120 degrees Fahrenheit? Okay. So the remote condensing unit has to be at minus 20 to 120 degrees. Okay. A roof is always hotter than if you put it out on the ground somewhere. So always remember that. Is the refrigerant oil trap installed in the condenser? If the condenser is installed 23 to 35 feet above the ice machine head. If you actually have a unit that you put it on, it's on the first floor and it goes up to the roof, you have that 21 to 35 feet. It's where you'll usually end up. So make sure that you have the the oil trap installed. Okay. So let's look at the one of the things on your flaker and your nugget machine. Okay. There's a bin thermostat. Okay. If you look to the left, that's the bin thermostat at the top. The evaporator low temperature safety thermostat is at the bottom. Okay. So I need to know where to set each one of these. Okay. So if I'm looking at the bin thermostat, okay, if my number gets, if I have it on a 4 and I'm not getting enough ice, what do I need to do? I need to turn it to 5. If I'm getting too much ice, what do I need to do? I need to put it on a 3. Okay, that's if it's on a 4. So that's what you're going to do for your bin thermostat. Okay. Once again, the evaporator low temps thermostat. Okay. What will happen is if you don't have it set right, will cause the ice machine to shut off. Okay. So on your ice machine, okay, the bin thermostat on these machines, if you look, they're somewhere either a 3 or a 5. You need this chart to know where they go. If you look at the RF, the ones in the dashes, there's no setting for that. Okay, that's what the 3 dots mean. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second. You guys have any questions so far? If you do, please put them in the comments section so that we can review what we've already gone through. Okay. I'm going to wait another second. You guys, please, if you do have any questions, please put them in the comment section. Okay. We are not going to, we're at 58 minutes. We may make it, we may not. Okay. One thing about Manitowoc Ice Machine is they actually have an altitude, okay, adjustment, so that it operates thermostat settings properly. Okay. So we're gonna go through the next thing to find out, and you're gonna need to know if this unit is how many feet above sea level this is. So if I'm in the wonderful state of Colorado, I'm gonna definitely have to adjust this because this machine came from Manitowoc, Wisconsin. It's a whole lot different in Manitowoc, Wisconsin than it is at Boulder, Colorado. Okay. So if my altitude is in foot, so if I'm at 200 feet, okay, the bin thermostat, I'm probably going to need to turn it about a quarter of a turn. Okay. If I'm at 4,000 feet, I'm not going to mess with meters. We're not in Canada or Latin America or the anywhere else but America. So we're going to stick with the feet and not in meters. Okay. So if I'm at 4,000 feet, okay, I'm going to need to adjust it about 5/8 of a turn. I'm at 6,000. I want to make sure that I adjust it one full turn. If I'm at 8,000, which would be my which would be my thing in Boulder, Colorado, you're somewhere around 7,000 to 8,000 feet. You want to turn it 1.38 turns. Okay. Where's my thermostat adjustment screw located? You see it right there. I made sure that I put this in there because you're going to need it. Okay. For the ice machine will not start. Okay. if I get there and the ice machine is out, okay, the rocker switch has to be on it moved into the on position. This is a very simple on-off switch, okay? It's one thing I love about ice machines. They don't try to get funky with it. It's very basic, very simple. Okay. The ice something could happen and the ice is in contact with the bin thermostat bulb. Okay. So that'll make it that it won't start. Okay. Or the water reservoir is full of water. Okay. So if I turn the toggle switch to the on position, it starts the gear motor and the refrigeration system. Okay. The float valve controls the inlet water, the inlet valve, and the water level. Okay. The free cycle ends when the ice contacts the bin thermostat. The ice machine will restart when there's no more ice on the bin. Okay. So if I get there, one of those issues is going to be that either it's not in the on position, there's ice on the thermostat bulb, or the water reservoir is an issue. Okay. This is the three things that I'm going to start looking at before I ever do anything else. Okay. I have seen plenty of times that somebody has pushed the ice to one side and it's covered that bin thermostat. And as soon as you rake it off, it'll start working, and you end up like, well, here you go, minimum charge, $130. Okay. So here's where all this information, where all of these are. Okay. The sensing bulb for the bin is located in the bin itself. Okay. The bin thermostat location, you can see it in this. It's on the back side of the ice machine. The evaporator low temperature safety thermostat is located also on the back. Okay. So let's talk about maintenance. As we have said at least half a dozen times, this machine has got to be maintained. Every 6 months, somebody has got to do this, okay? Whether it's you or whether it's the customer, it has got to be done. If not, you will have the worst problems than you can ever imagine. I actually went out on one that we ended up having to replace the auger, the auger motor, and actually the auger itself. Okay, and some of the times, if it's so bad, you can actually cut into the grooves of the auger, where the auger gets off a little bit because it hasn't been cleaned, and you can puncture a refrigerant line. And if you puncture the refrigerant line that runs through it, guess what you have to do? This customer is not going to be a happy camper, but it's their fault. Okay. If they don't do this, this is what's going to happen sooner or later. You're gonna either have a bad auger motor, a bad auger itself, a bad excuse me, a bad auger chamber, or it could be all three or any piece of those. And any of those are not cheap. Okay. So interior scaling and sanitizing, maintenance procedures, okay, covered by this, covered or not covered under the warranty. Okay. Sanitizing for exterior remedial and detail procedures can be performed independently and more frequently scaling when you need to do it. So it's at least every 6 months. It could be more than every 6 months that this needs to be prepared, depending on what kind of water they have. Okay. Using non-Manitowoc descalers, sanitizers, cleaners, or solutions may result in bodily harm or cause damage to the ice machine. None of that is covered under the warranty. Okay. The other thing, okay, wear rubber gloves and safety goggles or a face shield when handling ice machine descaler and sanitizer. This is a warning, okay? All I did was wear a cheap pair of safety goggles and I usually didn't use rubber gloves, but I should have. Okay. Descaling and sanitizing procedure. This procedure has to be performed every 6 months. If you don't get anything else out of this class, you have got to do this every 6 months. Okay. All ice machine, it needs to be removed from the bin. All of the ice. You can't do this without removing all of the ice. Okay. You can flush it all. You can flush it down with hot water, but you still have to remove the ice. Any way you can't just have ice in the bin. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. The ice machine and bin must be disassembled, descaling, and sanitizer. If this is a single piece unit, you can't disassemble it. If it is a split unit, you need to pull the head off the bin. Okay, so the head of it is the actual ice producing portion of it, and then the bin is the bin. Okay, all of that has got to be descaled and sanitized. Okay, the ice machine produces ice with this. The ice machine will produce ice with descaler and sanitizing solution. Okay, so all ice produced during the descaling and sanitizing procedure, you have got to get rid of. Okay, so what you have to do is, like with a nugget or a flake machine, I turn that unit back on and I let that thing run for at least 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I get all of that descaling and sanitizer out of the machine. Okay, heavily scaled descaling procedures. Okay, if something happens, this is what I was talking at the very beginning about the gear. Whenever you walk in, you're going to hear this thing, and whenever you hear this gear motor trying to make ice, you know that you have a problem. Okay, a grinding, a popping, or squealing noises in the evaporator. If you have a grinding noise in the evaporator, you have major problems. That auger has probably shifted, and now you're cutting into the side of it. So that chamber that has the refrigerant running through it, you may have to replace it if you run with a grinding. Okay, if you have a grinding noise in the gearbox, and you're going to know it, you'll hear it. It actually sounds like somebody that hasn't changed their brakes, and it's down metal to metal. That's what it sounds like. Okay, the ice machine trips the speed sensor. Okay, this ice machine is designed to trip a speed sensor because it's not up to par. Does it always work? Not always. Okay, so you just need to know. It depends on how bad it's gotten, and you need to check it to make sure that it hasn't gotten any worse. Okay, a descaling and sanitizing procedure must be performed after this procedure. Okay, if you're going to clean the exterior, here's what I used to tell people, or whenever I had somebody that I was training. Okay, exterior cleaning, I wait until I'm going to descale the ice machine. That's when I start doing my exterior cleaning. Okay, I've put everything together. We start with the descaling procedure. I'm going to now clean the exterior of the ice machine. So what do? I remove the dust and the dirt off all of the surfaces. I can use a combination of warm warm water and dishwashing detergent. I wipe it clean with a dry soft cloth whenever I'm done. Okay, descaling. Here it is. Okay, it has got to be, again, it has got to be metal safe descaler. That's the part number for the descaling solution for Manitowoc. The ice machine sanitizer part number is right there, 9405653. Okay. So what am I going to do? I'm going to remove the front and top covers and set the toggle switch to the off position. I'm going to remove all the ice from the bin. I'm going to turn off the ice making water supply and the drain water from the evaporator and reservoir. Okay. I'm going to remove the top cover from the water reservoir. I'm going to follow the chart and pre-mix the descaler in water. Okay. I'm going to fill the evaporator and the reservoir with descaling solution. That is a picture of it right there. Okay. After I do that, I'm going to move the toggle switch to the on position. The ice machine will make ice with the descaling solution and deposit the ice in the bin. After the remaining descaler water solution, as the water level of the reservoir drops. Okay, so I have to add the remaining the solution that I have left. Okay. After the descaler solution has been added, turn the ice machine making water supply on. Continue the freeze cycle for 10 minutes to remove descaling from the water circuit. Okay. Place the toggle switch in the off position. Okay. Once I place the toggle switch in the off position, I'm going to remove all of the parts for descaling and sanitizing. I will disassemble the parts for hand descaling and sanitizing. Okay, the water descale all parts. I'm going to rinse the parts with cleaner. I'm going to rinse the parts with clear potable water. I'm going to sanitize all the parts. Do not rinse after you sanitize. If you put water on it after you sanitized it, you've ruined it, and now you have to go back and redo it. Okay. I'm going to spray the evaporator discharge spout. It's showing a picture right there of the evaporator discharge spout of what it's talking about. Okay. I'm going to reassemble the ice machine. I'm going to turn off the ice making water supply. I'm going to refer to the chart and pre-rinse the water and the sanitizer. Okay. I want about 4 liters of water to 15 milliliters of sanitizer. Okay. Don't ask me why in the world they went to liters instead of ounces. Can't answer that. Okay. Step number 15. We're going to fill the evaporator reservoir with sanitizer and water solution. We're going to move the toggle switch to on. The ice machine makes ice with the water and sanitizer solution in it. It'll drop the ice in the bins after the remaining sanitizer water solution when the water reservoir drops. I'm going to add it all so that I get it all done. Okay. Do not allow the sanitizer water level to drop below the minimum water level. The ice machine will discontinue the cycle if the float switch opens. Okay. So you have to remember that whenever you're adding that water solution, you have to add it. Okay. And then as it starts to drop, you have to add more. Once I get done, I turn the water back on. Okay. So after the sanitizer water solution has been added to the reservoir, turn on the Icemaker, make the Icemaker water line. Okay. Continue the freeze cycle for 30 minutes and discard all the ice produced. If something happens and I still need to descale, and I know that I'm going to need it because that gearbox or the unit is grinding or sounds bad, I'm going to have to descale it twice. I'll remove the top covers, set the toggle switch to the off, remove the ice from the bin, turn the ice making water supply, turn it off. I'm going to remove the top cover from the reservoir, and then I'm going to refer to the chart below, pre-mixed descaler and lukewarm water with a non-metallic container. Okay, here's what I need, depending on the model number. Okay, water reservoir capacity is at 400 milliliters for these models on the right. We're going to roll down where it's going to be 500 millimeters, 500 for the the one that we're talking about. I'm going to need 325 milliliters of descaler, and I'm going to need 177 milliliters of water for the unit that we're discussing now. Okay. After I do that, I'm going to remove all the water from the evaporator and the water reservoir. I'm going to add the entire descaler water solution and reinstall the reservoir cover. Leave the descaler water and solution in the evaporator for a minimum of 4 hours. Okay. I have not turned anything on. Understand that. Okay. Okay. Like I said, it's going to sit there for 4 hours. I'm going to remove all the descaler and water from the evaporator and water reservoir. Then I'm going to follow the standard descaling and sanitizing operations. Okay. Do not mix descaler and water and sanitizer together. This is a violation of the codes in your area, guaranteed. Okay. So removal of parts for sanitizing and descaling. Okay. Turn off the water supply to the ice machine at the water valve. Remove the components listed on the following pages for descaling and sanitizing. Soak the removed parts in a properly mixed solution of descaler and water. I want 4 liters of water to 500 milliliters of descaler. Okay. Use a soft bristled brush or a sponge, not a wire brush. Okay. To carefully descale the parts. Okay. Use the solution and the brush or the sponge to descale and disassemble components and then use it on the inside of the bin. Then I'm going to rinse all descale parts with water. Okay. Then I'm going to mix a solution of the sanitizer and the water. I'm going to need 11 liters of water to 60 milliliters of sanitizer. Okay. I'm going to soak the parts in the sanitizer water solution for 10 minutes. Use the sanitizer water solution and a sponge to sanitize all removed components and the inside of the bin. Do not rinse the sanitized compartments. Like I said, if you put water on those are no longer sanitized. Okay. Continue with step 11 of the scaling sanitizing procedure. Okay. So once again, the ice chute removal. Okay. So what I'm going to do on these is I'm going to turn the toggle switch to the off position. I'm going to turn the water supply and disconnect the electrical power to the ice machine. I'm going to disconnect the water supply. I'm going to remove the water reservoir. I'm going to remove the micro switch and the bin thermostat from the ice chute. Okay, they're showing you where that is right there on the right, on the top right. Okay, I'm going to remove the retainer for the ice machine, chute elbow, and the ice chute. You look right here; it shows you how to push up on it, and then it'll remove. Okay, cleaning the air cool condenser. This is the next step. Okay, I'm going to disconnect all the electrical supply power to the ice machine. Okay. We used to try to hunt down the ice machine switch in a box. Hopefully, you don't have to do that. Hopefully, they actually wired it with a plug. Because if you don't, depending on what machine, what restaurant or bar you're at, you may never find it. It's really tough to find. Okay. A dirty condenser restricts the airflow, resulting in excessive high operating temperatures and reduced ice production. Okay. You need to clean the condenser every 6 months. This should be part of your PMP. Okay. Your preventative maintenance program has to include a condenser cleaning. Okay. One of the things that you need to remember is these condenser fins are sharp. Not only that, they bend easy. Okay. If you bend them over, you will cause this machine to go off on a high side. It will trip the high side. Okay. So you have to use care whenever you're cleaning the condenser. It's not like the condenser on a refrigerator where you can nearly about bang on it and it's fine. No, these are like the fins on an air conditioner on the inside of an air conditioner. Okay. So I'm going to clean the outside of the condenser with a soft brush or a vacuum with a brush attachment. What I use is I always had a shop vac. I use the shop vac, okay, with a brush attachment so that I could suck it down, okay. If I go through and dirt remains, I actually take a flashlight, shine it through the condensing coil. If I can see dirt through the condensing coil, I need to go back and do a little bit more to it, okay. I'm looking straight down the fins, so I should see those lines, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one of two things, okay? What I used to use was a cleaner that was a bubbling cleaner, okay? I would spray it into the fins on the condenser, okay? It would sit, it would take any of the grease and grime and contaminants that are in the system, it would force it out to where I've sprayed it, and then I could take my cloth and I can slowly wipe it down, or I can use my vacuum attachment again, okay? Because I was using a wet dry vac. Okay. Modular units. Clean the washable water filter with mild soap and water solution. Okay. Okay. One of the things that you need to know about an ice machine, if the temperature goes below 48 degrees, it's gonna be there for an extended period of time. A lot of the ice machines that we had to put it into winterization. Okay, if I'm putting it, if I'm going to take it out of service for an extended period of time, say 3 to 4 weeks, I'm going to have to perform this procedure. Okay. I'm going to descale and sanitize the ice machine. Number one, I'm going to press the power button and turn off the ice machine. I'm going to turn off the water supply. I'm going to disconnect the incoming water line and the rear of the ice machine and drain line water trough. Okay. If I don't do this, and we're talking about winterization, you will freeze the water line and may freeze the line in the inside of the ice machine, and you have to replace everything if you didn't do it right. Okay. So then I'm going to energize the ice machine, wait for 1 minute for the water inlet valve to open, blow the compressed air in both the incoming water and the drain opening in the rear of the ice machine to remove all the water. Okay. I'm going to press the power button, turn off the ice machine, disconnect the electrical supply to the water, to the circuit breaker or the electrical service switch. So I'm going to either unplug the machine or I'm going to go inside and turn it off. Okay. Fill a spray bottle with sanitizer water solution and spray all interior food zones. Do not rinse and allow to air dry. Okay. And I'm just going to take and replace all of the panels. Okay. So, like I said, these machines, okay, the wiring schematics are pretty much cut and dry. I mean, the switch is a simple on-off switch. Okay, there ain't no fanciness to this switch. Okay, so on the far left, that's your on-off switch. So if I've got power coming in, but I don't have power coming out, I've got a switch problem. Okay. So I'm going to know that right away because it's a very simple switch. It doesn't run through a whole bunch of other things. Okay. If the two controls on the right side right there, okay, which is the low pressure control, which is the number 7, which is on the bottom, okay, or the bin cycle control, the thermostat, bin cycle thermostat, which is number 11. Those are in series together. If one of those is bad, it's gonna be open. Okay, that's gonna be your problem. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep rolling along. So down here at the bottom on number 17 is, oops, I told you wrong. Number 11 is the bin thermostat, which is the 2 red boxes. Okay. Number 17. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to look this up. I did you a disservice. Number 17 is the water level switch. I put that wrong. So number 17 that's in series with these others is the water level switch. Okay. If I keep moving along, if you notice, there's a fan, okay, that's down in the line. So you're just going to trace all of those down. Okay. When the compressor relay and the fan cycle control are energized, okay, we want to make sure that these are closed. So you want to make sure that both of those two are closed before it starts. Okay. If not, you're going to have either a fan cycle control that's bad, your actual fan motor. If you've got power through that, your fan motor doesn't work. You got a bad fan motor. Okay. I always tell people I ohm it out and just look for it to be closed. Okay. So we made it. This is a YouTube video that Manitowoc produced on this ice machine. Okay. It basically goes through everything that we have been through. Okay. I'm going to give you a few minutes to write that down. Okay. So, guys and gals, thank you. I appreciate your taking time out of your day to come to this class.